network is now online.
Yeah, easily over 100.
What's your name and your badge number?
Subject 97, he's fishing. He also has an AR-15 and a Glock.
All right, folks, stay tuned till the end. We will be giving away a 4K HDR Roku and an autographed copy of the Undercover Epicenter Nurse. This video here is going to be featuring Miss Tyrant Slayer and Connecticut activist Miss J. Cherry. Please head on over to her Facebook and show her some love and support. We will be going live momentarily. About another 20 seconds or so. Don't mind the end of that stop clock. Minor technical difficulty here in the beginning, but we will be good to go here momentarily. Be sure to comment in the comment section. Participate in the live chat. If you have any questions, we will get your questions answered. Having your name up in the live chat and in the comment section is going to increase your chances of winning. We have a large pool of names that we're going to be pulling from this evening before we hand out our prizes. So if you'd like to get a better chance, make sure you're engaged in this conversation and participating in the live chat. And with that, without further ado, here we go. All right, looks like we got an audio issue here. Let me go ahead and try to rectify that for us here. Give me a couple, 2-3 seconds here. We'll figure this out. I do apologize for my lack of professionalism. All right, so I think I might have to restart the stream. I'm not entirely sure what the hell is going on here. Device settings. Oh, I think I figured it out. So perhaps we won't have to restart it. I'll go ahead and pull that video back. Thank you for being here. Please be patient with me. Try to work this little technical problem out as quickly as I can for you folks. Let's see here. C9. Settings. It's in Chrome. Okay. We'll go down to Tools, Settings, Audio, System Sound. I think that ought to do it. Let's see if this works here. We'll go ahead and try again.
Hey guys out there in Facebook world, Twitter, and YouTube, Jay Cherry here, streaming to you live tonight on this fine night right before a major snowstorm. And we have special guests in the house. Want to have a really important conversation. We have Rachel from Tyrant Slayer Studios in the house. Let me bring her in. I'm excited to do this because I've brought her in as a guest through my Ecamm Live. And yay, there you are. It worked beautifully. Hey Rachel, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, so we were online talking recently, and I just want to say a shout out to Tyrant Slayer Studios, who are also on YouTube and do a lot of great work to spread awareness. And I shout out there to all the work that you guys do. In fact, going over to the courthouse without a mask on and questioning. I wish I had a little clip of that scene of Tim filming that with the state trooper standing outside with his mask on, and the whole conversation of trying to get into the courthouse for a court hearing, and you can't go into the courthouse without a mask. Now I find out that we can't even go into our legislative session this year is going to be on Zoom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the legislative session will be closed to the public except via Zoom. Apparently, they're not going to let us into the State House. They're not going to let us, they're not even letting the legislators in to be sworn in. This is how insane it is.
Yeah, I would say.
It's to me, and so we got to talking online about how do we reach all of our friends and families, like the masses of people out there, because there's a small group of us that see this, that have been like screaming our heads off. We get called conspiracy theorists and, whatever kind of name. I've been called an anti-vaxxer, being in the medical freedom movement. That's been something that's been thrown at me. Oh, you crazy kind of conspiracy anti-vaxxer. Now I'm an anti-masker. I never thought that this fight would get to the point where to get into a government building, like it's what I loved about seeing your video up there, trying to get into the courthouse for a court hearing that you need to be at. You can't, you're not going to wear a mask. This is the United States of America. I never thought.
Or at the very least, they should have had masks available for people. If they were really adamant about people wearing them, they should have been handing them out to anybody who showed up without one.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't care. They don't care. And it was amazing to me how they didn't care. You can't get in. Oh, sorry, sucks to be you. You got a court hearing today. It's an important issue that you need to deal with, and you better put a face diaper on or you can't come in.
Yeah, my favorite line that Tim says is, "Go ahead and violate my rights, please violate my rights, so I can go to my hearing today." It's one or the other. You're either going to have your due process with a mask on, or you're not going to wear the mask and you're not going to get your due process.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to sacrifice something. You shouldn't have to sacrifice anything.
Oh, hey, we got David Lowe on. Hey, David Lowe, I love your work. I love the fact that you're out there doing lots of videos, and I appreciate what you're doing so much. But he says, a pandemic so deadly that all of the employees at Walmart are still alive.
Yeah, the Stop and Shop employees, Big Y, McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, they're all still kicking around, right?
Yeah, it's what I think is really disturbing, and I have a couple of complaints into the CHRO of Connecticut. So that's the Connecticut Office of Human Rights violation. What is the exact acronym for it? The Connecticut Human Rights Office, basically. So now I've told people about this before, and some people have met up with people there. There's all different types of people working at the CHRO. So definitely, if you feel like you've been discriminated against for not wearing a mask, you should reach out to them. You should file a formal complaint. I already have a complaint in with the CHRO, and I'm preparing to do another complaint about another store who now only recently is denying me ability to shop there. And this one hits hard because it's in my town. It's this place that I shop to feed my family. And over the years, I've gotten them to carry things like raw milk and the certain peanut butters I like and all this kind of stuff. And I've always had a good rapport. It's a smaller IGA local business. So it's really painful scenario just to be outside with.
Yeah, I have been avoiding going to the stores and going out in public, and it hurts my heart to have to stay home just because of everybody else around me either won't let me just live my life the way that I'm comfortable, or the anxiety I get seeing all the people around me wearing masks because half their face, it's covered. All you see are eyes. You can't tell who a person is, what their demeanor is, if you should steer clear or if it's okay. A lot of that is facial recognition that helps your brain decide whether or not to engage or get away.
Yeah. And that's so important. And what shocks me, and this like brings us into the conversation where we started talking about this, like, hey, let's do a live to talk about this because I'm thinking about it all the time. And what shocks me is how people don't even consider that, don't take a moment to think about what it means to put on a mask or a facial covering over your face. I think people are so caught up in the media-driven narrative that they're a good person if they wear their mask. So how do we have the conversation that it's not about that you're a good person or a bad person if you have a mask on or a mask not on. I don't care if you want to wear a mask and wrap yourself in bubble wrap if that makes you feel good. Have at it.
We're one of those big what are they called? Like the bubble soccer balls?
Yeah. It's like, you know what I think of? And this is like, I've been around I'm on this earth for quite a while now, but I think of this old 70s movie, The Boy in the Bubble, which was,
Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
What's his name? John Travolta. What is his name? John Travolta, the boy in the bubble, who he couldn't be around anyone because he had no immune system. And they had him in a bubble, a physical plastic bubble.
Yeah, so, I know what you're talking about. I'm waiting to see the general public be wrapping themselves up in these things, trying to get into the grocery store.
You know, I saw, there's an old friend I have, we don't talk much anymore, but I recently bumped into him before I was banned from my grocery store. And, you know, he's even got the rubber gloves on. And I feel really bad about that because, you know, he's out in a grocery store shopping with a mask and the rubber gloves on, and you can't have a conversation. I've tried. We are no longer able to really talk online anymore. I ended up blocking him because I don't like to block people, but he was so close to me and I do a lot of activism. I was worried he was going to send like the health department to my house because people are like talking about reporting your neighbors. I know I'm wicked paranoid and it pains me that I blocked this person, but it got me really freaked out when people started saying we're gonna, like, you gotta tell on your neighbor. Like, how did we get there?
Yeah, well, Nazi Germany is where we are right now, especially with the reporting on your neighbors. There's people calling on restaurants. There was a story a while ago. Somebody went to a restaurant supposed to be takeout only, but they ended up serving them a drink.
Well, that was unexpected. Hang on there, folks. Trying to work this out. Oh, man, that was a bummer.
Us that see this, that have been like screaming our heads off. We get called conspiracy theorists and, you know, whatever kind of name. I've been called an anti-vaxxer, being in the medical freedom movement. That's been something that's been thrown at me. Oh, you crazy, conspiracy, anti-vaxxer. Now I'm an anti-masker. I never thought that this fight would get to the point where to get into a government building, like it's what I loved about seeing your video up there.
Folks, I'm having a hard time this evening. Please forgive me. We'll try to get it back to where it was. We don't want to miss a beat. Having some technical difficulties over there. I'm not quite a greenhorn or a rookie, but I am playing with some new software here this evening and trying to work out the glitches as we go. So please just forgive me.
Into the courthouse without a mask. Now I find out that we can't see your video up there trying to get into the courthouse for a court hearing that you need to be at, and you can't.
Go ahead and violate my rights, please.
CHRO. So definitely, if you important. And what shocks me, and this like brings us into the conversation where we started talking about this, like, hey, let's do a live to talk about this because I'm thinking about it all the time. And what shocks me is how people don't even consider that. You feel good. Have at it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm waiting to see the general public be wrapping themselves up in these things, trying to get into the grocery store.
You know, I saw, there's an old friend I have, we don't talk much anymore, but I recently bumped into him before I was banned from my grocery store. And, you know, he's even got the rubber gloves on. And I feel really bad about that because, you know, he's out in a grocery store shopping with the mask and the rubber gloves on, and you can't have a conversation. I've tried. We are no longer able to really talk online anymore. I ended up blocking him because I don't like to block people, but he was so close to me and I do a lot of activism. I was worried he was going to send like the health department to my house because people are like talking about reporting your neighbors. I know I'm wicked paranoid and it pains me that I blocked this person. But it got me really freaked out when people started saying, we're going to, like, you got to tell on your neighbor. Like, how did we get there?
Yeah, well, Nazi Germany is where we are right now, especially with the reporting on your neighbors. There's people calling on restaurants. There was a story a while ago. Somebody went to a restaurant supposed to be takeout only, but they ended up serving them a drink while they were there waiting for their food, and somebody called on them. Like, the people in the establishment, the customer had no problem with what was going on, but there's a nosy neighbor looking over going, oh, who can I report today?
Wow. That's so this is, I think, the hardest part for what we're talking about. And when we start to dive into this and then the the ramifications of all of these mandates and these executive orders via fiat. I mean, like, if we think about this, Lamont is basically writing laws, but they're not laws. He's making these edicts without the legislature, who is a lame duck, by the way. I'm going to call out the Republicans too. Let's look at the two-party duopoly. We were talking about that earlier, the two-party duopoly, okay? Because it is a duopoly, and the whole thing is it keeps us, the people, separated from each other, from having real conversations, say, hey, wait a minute, back up the bus. What on earth are you talking about? How is this governor shutting down businesses to the point where 600 restaurants in Connecticut have closed their doors for good? Where just today in the Waterbury Republican, there was an article that my friend in Georgia, who was in Connecticut, shout out to you, Jen, if you end up tuning on, she left Connecticut. God bless her.
Good for her. Good for her.
I think about leaving Connecticut all the time. Like, where are we going to go? Where do we run to? But at the end of the day, I feel like we need to stay here and fight the fight, you know, for as long as we can, because we have a house here. We have a life here. We can't just like up and leave because the government is insane.
Yeah, we should be able to put our voices out there and get things changed for the people, because it is we the people. I've been in Connecticut my entire life. I don't want to leave Connecticut. And I would rather stay and fight to get things better for the people. But, I mean, if enough of the Connecticut population isn't willing to stand together, at what point do you say, I need to cut my losses and go somewhere where there's more people that are more like-minded?
Yeah, that's something I think about quite a bit. I'll bring in Tim here for a second. Let me see if I can add him into here. Hey, Mr. Sparks, you got anything to say there? Oh, your green screen is just
you got
green.
Me half in there.
I got you half in there without you just got a green screen.
I got lots of stuff to say, but I mean, we're talking about, you know, Connecticut, and is there enough people? Let me give him a
full screen here.
Is there enough people here to stand, you know, and it was just a very valid question that I think that things are going to get worse. So it's going to be proven in the next 6 months or so that, you know, as the legislation season kicks in, and the thing you said earlier is horrifying about the Zoom. Like we were able to we didn't even slow them down that much, but we kind of paused them a bit with the vaccine, the religious exemption, with having like 4,000 people there. But now they're going to eliminate that pressure, which is, it's on. They're going to start doing, in some ways, part of me says, let them do this stuff so that people will wake up. But are they going to wake up? That's our question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Here, I just want to pull up here. I got us all three on here. Let me see if I can bring this back over here. Okay, so Gina DeLorio, thank you for commenting, Gina. I appreciate that. She says she heard on her local station children are getting severe anxiety, depression, in this. It's just not good because of the social interactions, wanting to go out and play with friends, and parents are not allowing it, but notice their behavioral changes. And, the generation of children are getting sick. And I've even seen this online is people are saying they're calling the cops on the kids playing basketball in their cul-de-sac. I'm like, I'm not making it up.
Yeah, I've often said that this generation of children is probably going to have severe PTSD.
Yeah.
They're going to experience trauma that they don't necessarily think is trauma, but all of these things that are changing and not being able to interact with each other and being isolated, it's all trauma.
Yeah. And what I feel like is that we're not able to get the attention of the legislature because our governor is now operating as a monarch,
a dictator,
a dictator, a king. And then what really is troubling, and what we were talking about that led us to have this open conversation and open dialogue out there so we can kind of, stream of consciousness here. How is it that we get the majority of the people to also say and ask these questions? Because it seems like a majority of the people is just acquiescing to it, laying down and accepting it.
Well, I think part of it is they're actually convinced that there is a medical necessity to have all of these things going on. They aren't aware, or they just don't care enough to look into it independently. They don't have the sources because they're either working too much, or they're taking care of their kids, or they just simply believe what is being fed to them day in and day out on their television.
Yeah, I think.
Propagandized, yeah.
What was that, Mr. Sparks?
Propagandized. They're, if you tune into the TV and even just the radio news and stuff, it's 24/7. It's just drilling it right into their heads. I had this conversation with one of my people I work with, or not, they're a tenant where I work. And she was saying, well, I don't dive as deep as you do. And I was like, well, yeah. And it was very interesting because she was like, well, that's kind of scary what you're saying, and I was just telling her about, she said she was going to go for the COVID vaccine. And I said, well, you might want to consider this. And, and she was, it just is interesting. She was at the end, she goes, pharmaceutical companies control everything. I go, yes, that's what I'm saying to you, that you really might want to think about allowing. So you realize Pfizer has been caught multiple times lying about their information. They've paid out $1 billion, over like almost $2 billion for lying about their products. And now we're getting the information from their product, taking their word for it, and saying that it's good because they're telling us it's good. And they've looked at it for no more than 2 months. And now they're saying in the news that any reaction is not going to be... don't worry, it's not about the vaccine. It's normal. People die after getting these shots because old people do die. You know that, right? So it's like interesting how they conflate things. Like they're able to say that COVID kills all these old people, but when they get the shots and they die, it's not the shot. It's just old people die. And that's...
I'm going to stop that right there for just a second and add to that. There was a broadcast done by CNN not so long ago, I'm going to say in the last week or so, and they're putting up photos and ages of a number of people who have died in nursing homes from COVID-19. And these folks are 98, 99, 101 years old, 92 years old. And for those of you folks who do not know, the average life expectancy here in the United States of America, I think, is 78. So we're being spoon-fed stories from the Clinton News Network, the Communist News Network, CNN, about these people who were supposed to think are victims. A poor 98-year-old woman who lived 20 years beyond the average life expectancy. Suddenly her life was cut short due to COVID. Like, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm not lacking compassion here, but for the media networks to be putting stories out like this as if these people had any life left to live and would have enjoyed their last days had they not come down with COVID is absolutely asinine and ridiculous. And with that, I'll continue the video.
That's what they're literally saying. And I'm like, you realize, you know, you read that you should read the 57-page submission and find out that they have no idea what it's going to do to old people, if it's going to work. They don't know anything about whether it'll work for 16, what's going to happen to 16 and or under. They don't have any data on this. And anytime someone has a reaction, they explain it away.
Oh, yeah.
And she was, you know, you might be right. I'm not getting the vaccine for my kids, but I'm getting it. I'm okay. All right. Well, you know, good luck. The point is you should be able to choose. That is the ultimate. You're welcome to that choice. I agree with that. But to force something that is, you know, anything, I don't care if it's tried and true, you know, we should have freedom of choice.
Freedom
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Freedom of choice is, I personally think freedom of choice is paramount and extremely important. And I just wanted to bring this up too, is that the Connecticut legislature is going to be starting up on the 6th of January, and their priority is to finish what they started back last year with HB 5044, which eliminates the religious exemption to vaccination for public school children. But what I think some people fail to understand, and I've had this conversation with some of my artist friends, because before all this, my primary thing was being an artist and producing music festivals and live radio on WESU, which I no longer do, which has nothing to do with COVID. It was just time for me to move on from WESU. And we never had these public conversations to the scale like I'm doing now. I mean, people who knew me knew that I was fighting for medical freedom. They thought, oh, that's just, you know, her thing that she does on the side, like it's a hobby, which drives me nuts because this affects us all. And my friend who I had this conversation with has no kids said, well, they're not talking about adults.
Because that makes a difference.
Screw the kids.
That makes a difference.
Right?
Yeah, we have 4 little boys, and we're homeschooling.
Oh,
So
God
I'm
bless
glad
you.
that I don't have to fear whether or not that's going to be mandated upon my own children. But there are lots of other children around who just don't have the voice. Even their own parents are either unaware, or they don't care, or they say the government's telling me it's okay, so it must be.
Yeah. And that's, I think that is the biggest problem that I feel like we're running up against is how to break through what the media narrative is saying, to say, hey, wait a minute. And I told this to my friend who, and I said, look, for the last several years, I'm going up to the Capitol. I've gotten really familiarized with the state legislature and their attitude about vaccination. The lingo. Thank you. The lingo. So, and the lingo is, they don't give a squat what your opinion is. They're going to do this, and you're just a crazy anti-vaxxer. Nobody's going to listen to you. This is all anecdotal. Now, I went up there last year, and I filmed and I testified at 3 o'clock in the morning, as many people did, stayed to the middle of the night. It was an epic historical hearing, the biggest one I've ever been to. I heard there were bigger hearings with the gun legislation, which I think is great. But anyway, for HB 5044, we went 23 and a half hours. And, you know, people just they don't understand that if this goes through, if this religious exemption is eliminated, that means there's no recourse for anyone to say, I don't want this vaccine unless you can get a medical exemption. And that's
Yeah, and to get the medical exemption, you have to get a vaccine first to prove that you're going to have a reaction to it.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Yep.
even that doesn't even make sense.
You got to get injured first. You know, I want to comment about something that Rachel said earlier in the conversation about talking to people where they're like, because I talk to a lot of people. I run a property and I have a lot of tenants and stuff, and they're like, yeah, they kind of agree with you, with their mask on. They got their mask over their face, and they're like, and even my coworker, he's like, what's it gonna take for people to rise up? I'm like, well, start taking that mask off. It's like, and he's upset about the election, which is good. Be upset because they did fraud. It was fraudulent in my mind. But, even deeper is like they're lying to you steady. And he's like, and I'm giving him all these facts. He's like, yeah, what's it going to take for people to rise up? Which was kind of a neat thing for him to say. But you're right. A lot of these people, like, they agree with you in concept, but I think they can't break that barrier of their TV is telling them that it's right. And how do we, TV is like the Oracle or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of equate it even to public school. If you're following what the teacher says, you're following the authority in the school, you don't have a problem if you're going with the flow. But if you're one of the kids who speaks out and he says, oh, wait a minute, I might have learned something different at home than what you're presenting to me right now, they're automatically demonized, get out of the classroom, they're shamed in front of the whole class. It's kind of the same thing that's happening out in just public now.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with that. Like recently, and I've never had this happen ever in my life in public like this, where I'm in the store and this older man starts calling me like a freaking idiot. He's like, you're an idiot. What's wrong with you? I'm standing there. I have to read labels. I have, I'm in an aisle that I don't want to be in with the kids' bag. They're like, can you get us like Cheez-Its? And I'm like reading the label, trying to find a version of like Cheez-Its that I can accept, and I'm like, TBHQ.
Not all processed. There's
yeah,
a couple of good ingredients in there.
Yeah, I'm like, and I'm just like doing my thing, trying to figure out what kind of thing I can, like balance with my kids to get them a snack or whatever. And this guy comes down the aisle, and he's like, with his shopping cart, and here he is, he's like a senior citizen, and he starts calling me names.
Public shaming.
Yeah.
Public shaming. How have we gotten to this place in society?
Operation Mockingbird and the public school system, I'm pretty sure have played major roles in this.
Yeah.
So the people who are out of the school system are now taking their television and absorbing that information. And all the kids, it's indoctrination. That's what it is from the beginning, all the way on up. And then you're continuing to be indoctrinated in your own living room.
Exactly. I mean, it's gotten to the point where you just can't escape the Mockingbird indoctrination is coming at you from every which way that you could possibly go. I know you got something to say, Mr. Sparks.
I actually wasn't thinking of anything to say, and you just put me on the spot there. But we're being indoctrinated completely, and I think that I go right for the juggler when I talk to people. I just say things like the Great Reset, it's coming. And now even Joe Biden is saying it so, and John Kerry's. So what more do you want? What is that? I said, well, that's where you don't own anything. What? Tell my coworker, yeah, it's gonna get messy. You can't have a boyfriend. That's a lot of fluids there and stuff. It's like it's a crazy talk, but it's in their documents too. These types of things, they're openly talking about it. It's open source. Check out Whitney Webb. She's all over this. She reports from what DARPA is telling us, and it's very frightening, really.
Yeah, it certainly is. Whitney Webb is the Unlimited Hangout, so you guys could check that out, as well as American Vagabond. Those are good sources, because we often talk about what is our good sources, and we got Tyrant Slayer Studios over here also doing some incredible work. You guys had Nurse Erin interview, and I just got her book recently. A lot, you know, it was funny. I ordered her book, and I also, let me put my two-shot on here. I ordered her book, and I also got Klaus Schwab's Great Reset on the same day. Like, I ordered the two of those together, and they came, and I'm like, I'm sitting here with these two books, like, kind of laughing to myself, like, wow.
Yeah, and the information is out there, and people either dismiss it or they don't want to be aware because ignorance is bliss at this point.
Yeah, it really is, and I you know, I don't know what our, you know, what the answer is and how to wake up the rest of the people before it's too late. And then some days I get into this dark mood where I feel like they just ain't gonna know it until it's so freaking bad that we're packing our bags and leaving a freaking state to a different state. But it's like, then it's everywhere, you know. It's like wherever you go, there you are. But we have some good friends that are leaving, and God bless them, and I want to interview them to talk about it. They're going to a state with a more aware population and a government that's not totally working against the people. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the only place that I've seen thus far is, I think it's South Dakota.
Yeah.
Their governor has basically implemented next to nothing and let them be open and decide for themselves. And from what I can remember seeing is they've been fine dealing with COVID as compared to our state or New York or other Democratic blue states.
That's because they're more spread out, right? That's because they're spread out.
Wait, who said that?
You know, that's what the TV will tell you. You know, in South Dakota, they're more than 6 feet apart there. That's why nobody's dying. It's not because they're not wearing their mask, you know. But that's the kind of lunacy that you're getting. It's like any of these states that don't implement it, or they keep saying, was it Switzerland?
No, Sweden.
No, Sweden. They're like, oh, it's a crap show there. They're all dying, and it's like, but that's aren't their actual stats. Like it's so mind numbing with some of the stuff that's going on. It's like you know, recently, I don't know if you're aware of the John Hopkins article that this woman is, you know, she came together and she, you know, put out the stats of the all causes of death, and she found that there really isn't a significant difference between last year and this year. It's just, you know, there's always an uptick. I mean, yes, there's a lot of COVID death, but there's a lot less heart attacks. So it's statistical, like the heart attacks and all the pneumonias, everything's down just in the right, you know, levels. And it's just bizarre that, you know, and they said that it's not spreading a good message. That's why they retracted it right away. And even in the article, the lady was like going out of her way to say, I'm not saying it's not a dangerous disease. This is just the stats. And now that's been retracted. And, you know, but it's kind of hard to keep the truth from arriving and, you know, some coming to the surface, because it's going to keep rising. And, you know, you can only keep this information down so long. And I think they know that. And they know that if people actually got together and you know, fought them, they would be in the disadvantage.
Yeah, so Gina, and I just pulled her comment up. Let me see if I can pull her comment up again. There we go. This is something I'm new on learning with the system. But she says, Caesar says, give the crowd food and entertainment and they will be sufficed.
Exactly.
That is pretty powerful. I can bring it up over here again. You might be able to read it better. Now I figured out how to do that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you, Gina. That is so true.
It makes me think of the movie Russell Crowe. I think it's Gladiator.
Yep.
But he like gets in the arena with like 12 guys, and he's supposed to be slaughtered, but he kills all of them within a matter of minutes. And he yells at the crowd. He's like, "What, are you not entertained? This is what you came for."
Yep.
So I mean, as long as people got the blood and the gore and the disc, I can't think of the word now. I apologize.
That's okay. It's just a fascinating phenomenon how we're so divided. Now I have the three of us in here. We're like it's like with Superman back in the day where they had like the people in the glass pieces, or the Hollywood squares, except we're not quite squares, we're rectangle-y things. But it's like placate the masses, get the masses to feel like they're safe. But I don't know how anyone is really feeling safe right now with the policies of Ned Lamont, how they're feeling secure as we're watching the economy crash. And I just wanted to read this real quick here. This is from the Children's Health Defense, and I just let me just say this real quick. So never before has America seen such an accumulation of wealth in so few hands, said Frank Clemente, executive director of Americans for Tax Fairness, as tens of millions of Americans suffer from the health and economic ravages of this pandemic. A few hundred billionaires add to their massive fortunes. Their pandemic profits are so immense that they could literally give $3,000 stimulus payment to every man, woman, and child in the United States and still be richer than they were 9 months ago. That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So they're going to do it, right?
Shutting down all the small businesses, keeping all these big corporations in power. You can't go to the grocery store without a mask on until people start ordering off Amazon or Walmart.com or whatever have you. And it just adds to their wealth and takes down the little man, takes down the small business, the entrepreneur. They don't want entrepreneurs anymore. They want everybody to get in a job where they're just following orders. Stock those shelves over there, cut that meat over there, bring those groceries out over there.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that Klaus Schwab says, so let me get rid of this here. Klaus Schwab says in his book, The Great Reset, is that we're not going to own property and everything that we know and understand that has been a regular part of our life as Americans. And one of the big things that he really expands upon that's extremely disturbing is that individual liberty and privacy are something of the past, that you're going to have to learn to give that up. This is Klaus Schwab, author of COVID-19, The Great Reset, also founder of the World Economic Forum. I wish I had pulled that video up. I was thinking of it, and I didn't put it up here. But there's a video of Klaus Schwab. You can just go look him up. You can type his name into anywhere. You can see a bunch of videos and books. He's written also The Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is another very important book that people should consider reading, as well as it's the Rockefeller document, which is, oh gosh, it's slipping me right now.
Lockstep is the, oops, I got that comment there too. The Lockstep document, let me pull that comment away. I'm so glad I figured out comments. I'm like, yay, figured out how to work the comments. But the Lockstep document, which comes out of the Rockefeller Institute, the Rockefeller Foundation, which in the 1920s, they basically squashed all of the, what we now call alternative health modalities, but back in the day, we used to have homeopathic hospitals, and naturopathy was something that was, very established here in the United States, and it's something that people would use. Hey, the Queen of England sees a homeopath, okay? She said she was going to get the shot, her and Prince Philip. Oh,
I'm
sure.
like, yes, it's all BS. They're not getting the shot, guys, right? They're going to sit there with Bill Clinton, Obama, and who else was Bush? The Queen of England and the Prince of England are all going to get the...
Yeah, I don't believe the 90-year-old lady got the shot, the first one in England. I think that was a farce, but, well,
there was a story about crisis actors. I think it was regarding that woman, and I think one of the first men to get the shot, too. And they had used the same picture in October that they did in December. And there was the same picture, the same nurse administering the shot. There was like this whole big thing. I got this all off of Aaron Olszewski's Facebook page. They actually interviewed Aaron because of that post for USA Today. And I read the USA Today article, and it was basically a fact checker article. And they said, no, this isn't a crisis actor, and these aren't the same people. And maybe they just ran the same picture with different headlines. Any way to cover up any possibility of it being an actual crisis actor in a situation that they just fabricated to put in front of people to make them more comfortable.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to me that in the land of, you know, the digital age, the age of information, that the access to the information is there. You could get it, but now you have to work harder to get it. And it's coming to the point where they want to squash that. They want to kill what makes the internet cool. And just change the narrative whichever way they can.
Yeah, we noticed in our analytics data on YouTube, when we put up videos regarding COVID, we're actually suppressed. They do not suggest our videos like they would if it had some other content. Like if the cop videos on our YouTube channel, those things got pushed. They wanted everybody to watch them because it makes the police look bad, and that's what they want right now. But when you put information about COVID, especially dealing with Erin, how she was in Elmhurst Hospital and witnessed these things firsthand, they don't want people to see that. They don't want the public to be aware.
No, they don't want the public to be aware. They want to suppress the information. They want to stop the conversation. And that's what's really shocking to me. And I will say this, that coming from a background where I never really acclimated to one party or not, but always thought of myself as liberal minded. You know, the idea that, you know, freedom and access to information, those were liberal principles. And I don't want to put people into political groups because I feel like that's one of the ways that they're dividing us. But what I'm saying, and I'm speaking to my artist friends who I've known for many years, who've all of a sudden grown chilly to me for standing up against medical tyranny, for questioning the COVID narrative, for not wearing a mask, or I'm just looking for attention. I've been a broadcaster for many years, most of my adult life, so nothing's changed. You're just seeing me in a different light to these friends who have said this stuff about me, and it's so hard to swallow the fact that folks would say, I don't care about kids. It's not me that's going to be mandated the flu shot. I don't care about the suppression of information. That's just, you're not listening to science. Yet they're like, what do you mean we're not listening to science? My gosh, we just had a science forum last fall with a bunch of scientists coming in from both sides of the argument, filmed it, put it out on different social platforms, and had a full-on discussion about it. What are you talking about? How do people separate themselves from these realities? I don't understand. Our old friend could look at you and say, well, you're just a conspiracy theorist and you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, you're going to roll up your sleeve and get that experimental shot there?
Yeah, we were talking about here at the house earlier, we were talking about how they skip all the animal testing this time and just let's get straight to humans and see how we interact with this that they're injecting into people.
Yeah, it's just quite amazing. I'm just like blown away by the whole aspect of it. And here I am, just like I got a comment. I appreciate that they're saying we're getting some echo in our broadcast there, because hopefully I've been able to clear that up. We'll see that on the replay. But we've been talking now for about 40 minutes, so we'll wrap it up. And anything else that you want to add that you want to say before we wrap it up?
I just think it's important that even though we might not feel like we're getting anywhere today, that we keep putting the message out. We keep talking to more people. There's people that I've known for many years who now they're being affected firsthand by the COVID regulations and the mandates and things like that. And they are having a hard time with it. And a year ago, they would have called us conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat, anti-vaxxers type of thing. And now they're actually opening their eyes and getting on board. So I think for some people, it's an incremental slow process, and for other people, they can see one thing and go, "Oh yeah, this is clicking for me now, and I can understand where all of these people are coming from."
Yeah.
So I think the biggest part is keeping the open dialogue, even if you're frustrated or you feel like you're not getting anywhere that particular day. There's always tomorrow. There's more people to talk to. You might not be able to change everybody's mind, but you should be able to change a few people. And maybe they can reach other people you can't reach.
That's a beautiful sentiment. I like that idea. How about you, Mr. Sparks? Any last words?
Yeah, definitely. I think that I talk to a lot of people. Like I said, in my job, I encounter a lot of people, and I think that right now we're headed into a spot where you're gonna be on one side or the other. You're not gonna. It's not gonna be this fence riding is gonna be over. And you are going to be affected. You know what Rachel has said. You're going to, when you get immediately affected, it's going to change your perspective a little. And you're going to say, oh, I get it. I don't really want to lose my property right now. Or, because they're talking some heavy duty stuff coming down the pike. Or, regionalization's a whole nother show,
oh my gosh, don't get me started on that.
So, there's a lot of things that, but I think that in the end, it's like stay close to your heart and you can only be accountable for yourself, and your own happiness and joy, and don't let them try to take that from you.
I like that. That's beautiful sentiment. And I just want to thank you, Rachel, for taking the time out of your day to come on and talk about this. I think these are the steps that we take to just have an open dialogue, an open brainstorm of how to reach our friends and neighbors who are like, "You're crazy." When we're like, yeah, I wish that you were right. I wish that you were right, that this was just a total, the whole idea of a conspiracy theory is if that's fake. That's the CIA took that term, ran with it, and turned it into something that it's not. Because
manipulation of the language. There's a lot of that now. Manipulating the language to take things that used to mean one thing and turn them into something else.
Absolutely. And I think that it's this fast-paced culture where everything's coming at us so quickly that these sound bites, and one of the things that the propagandists use are these like 3-word easy phrases like build back better, the Great Reset.
I laughed so hard when I saw that. I laughed so hard.
One of the things I find that people are receptive to is when you start talking about, well, I went to Walmart, and that's okay, but they're killing small business, and that's a little hard. That some of these things are so blatant that and keeping it simple with people, like just they really shouldn't be closing down this local business. I had to go to Walmart for my job, which is like something I really don't want to do, but I went, because I had to get this thing. And that they had there, and the guy says to me, "Where'd you get that jacket? That's really cool." I said, "I bought that at a small local shop. It doesn't exist anymore, but and that's the thing is like, well, why can you buy these things at Walmart, but you can't just go and buy it? Is it really safer? Because it did not seem any safer at Walmart. Believe me, it didn't even look that clean.
You're probably worse off going into Walmart than a small local business.
What's that?
You're probably worse off going into Walmart than a small local business.
Serious, right? And I think that common sense does permeate to get through to people sometimes.
Well, we can totally hope so. And like I said, where how do folks separate themselves from wanting to be fair and kind and all these buzzwords that they're using, but yet saying, not caring that people really can't wear masks for very real reasons that are nobody's business. And, since when in the United States are we forced to cover our nose and our mouth? We live on the planet Earth in a vast environment, an atmosphere of enormous amounts of things that we cannot see with the naked human eye that float around in the air all the time. And we've got this innate immune system. What was the chiropractor telling me? It was the innate and oh my gosh, there are 2 parts of the immune system and I'm totally slipping me now. It's the innate and adaptive. Yep. So the how these parts of the immune system and I'll have to have him back on to talk about that a little bit more because I'm massacring it. But just that our bodies are endowed with this amazing system that protects us from our hair and our skin, our eyebrows, the hairs in our nose, the hairs in our lungs, the mucosal parts of our mouth, and the saliva, and all those things, our skin, the whole thing.
You know, and they're not allowing these, they're not allowing medical exemptions, really, when you cut down to it. They're really not. It's like, you're guilty. You walk in the store, you got your mask on, your mask off, and automatically you're vilified. And it's like, there's no allowance for like, wait, that person, you know, and we're not even going to go into the science of it all, how it is harmful to everybody, you know, but whatever. You know, but it's just amazing to me that it's not even allowed, really. They say it is, but it's not.
Yeah, they should. I mean, you see somebody without a mask on, the best thing to do would be to just stay 6 feet away. Leave them alone.
Oh, I always say, hey, free facer, you know. This is me. You know, they look at me funny, and I'm like, hey, free face, you know. And because you know what? It's so rare. I don't know about you guys, but when I go to places, it is so rare. So all these people coming online saying, oh my God, there was some mean people, right? They're mean people with no mask, and they're yelling at me for wearing a mask. I'm like, I don't know where they're going. I'd like to know, though, because I can't find those people.
Yeah, no, I can't either. So one more Facebook comment that I want to share, because now I can do it, and I'm like, yay! So thank you, Gina. I really appreciate your input here. And so I agree with this 100%. It all started with the Kennedy assassination. Then it went away until the Clinton campaign, when Bill Clinton was running for president, using the term conspiracy theorist. And, you know, it just seems like you know, they've taken this term, the CIA has run away with it, and have really turned people questioning the government and policies into something that's bad, that you're crazy, you know, you're labeled as an anti-masker, an anti-vaxxer, I'm like, I'm anti-fascism, how about that?
Yeah, and that's my last point, is the other thing that people think are kind of awakened to is that, why all the censorship? Like, you know, like when you start talking about that, there's censorship going on, and you cannot deny that. I mean, some people shrug it off, and it's okay because they're censoring stuff they don't like, but you know, that's something that's kind of alarming a lot of people too. So I play on that one too a lot. I say, like, don't you notice how things are being censored? Information, you know, is not being allowed. You know, like doctors, you know. And it's just amazing. I talked to this woman about the Stella Emanuel doctor. She said, I don't go for her. She's crazy because she believes in all this crazy stuff. I'm like, yeah, but she's a board certified medical doctor, you know, an immigrant. And you tell me Black Lives Matter, right? Like, what about her? She's an immigrant black woman, and they demonized her because she has unusual beliefs to American minds. She's from Africa. Oh, you're right. She does have. That's a cultural thing. So you want to demonize her for it? I don't know. I'm not so sure anymore.
Vaccines go there first.
Yeah.
And they're essentially guinea pigs to the newest vaccines. They use them there to see what side effects are. They see if it's a viable option regarding the side effects, whether it's too much or it'll be okay. And then they move them to the more first world countries, if you will. But they've got a big push out there, especially the women and the children have been negatively affected by a lot of these vaccines. So a lot of the women have been banding together to try to get this stopped.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you coming on and having this conversation.
I appreciate being here. I'm so glad I got to come on and have a little conversation here, get some information out to as many people as possible.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And I love what you guys are doing over at at your studios, and people can follow you online and on Facebook. You said that you guys have an interview coming out. You want to just talk about that briefly? Something's coming out you want to let people know about?
Yeah, Tim interviewed a gentleman, I want to say Brad Leo Lyon. He has a movie that he's producing. It's called, I might get the name wrong. I think there's a third party, you're invited. And it'll be coming out. I'm not even sure. I think they're in production right now. There needs a little bit more for his budget. He is interested in people donating to him. You should be able to find him on Facebook, Brad Leo Lyon. And it's basically exposing the duopoly and trying to find a way to be able to get more viable candidates. Like, if we all come together and realize we are the third party, then maybe we could get some change implemented in our society at the very least.
Amen to that. I definitely could celebrate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. And folks, we'll be back live. I've got more shows planned this week, so stay tuned. We're going to say goodbye for tonight. And let us all be open to the dialogue and not shut each other down and break away from the duopoly, because it's set to separate us. I really look forward to hearing more about this film. I've been really rallying for a third viable party to come up, because here in Connecticut, we've got, you know, our state house with a supermajority, and the Republicans need to do more.
It's like Dumb and Dumber.
You know, they don't run candidates, but I'm going to start going on and on. We could be talking for hours about the corruption. You know, they don't run candidates, and Senator Anwar just basically got his seat handed to him, and you guys got to know who Senator Anwar is, because I'm going to tell you out there in the world, he's a scary one. He says you got to love everybody. Yeah, you gotta love everybody. Except he wants to take your rights away. That's how much he loves you. Collectivism, you know, at its best. Love in a collective way. May sound good for a theoretician, but in practicality and reality, it is set up for a monarchy and somebody to take control at the top and tell everybody else how to live like the little good serfs that they want them to be, or us to be. I refuse to be a serf, so.
Yeah, we've said often here at our house, we'll die with our freedom intact. It comes down to it.
Amen. That's a great place to end. So we'll be back live later on this week. I got more shows planned. Not ready to release the times yet, because that's just kind of the way we work these days. But stay happy and healthy in the dark days of the great resistance. Let us be the great resistance to this great reset, because folks, it's there. You could see it even coming out of the political figures like Joe Biden and the Canadian guy.
Justin Trudeau.
John
Kerry has announced
John Kerry.
You're getting the great reset. It's coming sooner than you think, and it's going to happen.
Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Take care.
Have a good.
All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for joining us here this evening. That was Miss Tyrant Slayer and Jay Cherry. I think both of those phenomenal women did a fantastic job. They were joined by Tim. I believe his name was Tim. Shout out to Tim, man. You did a fantastic job as well. Right now, we're going to take things very quickly and just hand out these long overdue and long-awaited prizes. I guess we'll start with the Undercover Epicenter Nurse autographed copy of this book, The Undercover Epicenter Nurse. Jesus, this green screen just hates this thing. Okay, there's the book. I'm simply going to scroll through the lot of names I have here before me. Just go ahead and scrolling. And it looks like a Mr. Mark James Levesque is the lucky winner of this autographed copy of The Undercover Epicenter Nurse, which details the experience, the terrible tragedy and terrible experience of a United States veteran, Army veteran who turned registered nurse, who ultimately turned undercover journalist in the Elmhurst Hospital, Queens, New York fiasco, in which Governor Cuomo of New York essentially murdered every single patient that went into that building. The ventilators there were blowing out the lungs of all these poor people. They were not dying from COVID. In fact, many of the patients that entered that hospital entered the hospital without COVID, and died anyway, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible tragedy. And it's telling of the rather conspiratorial, I hate to use that word, but rather conspiratorial operation being carried out in these deep, dark blue socialist nanny states. So, Mr. Mark James Levesque, to receive this autographed copy of your book, I'm going to need you to email me at studioadmin, 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 studioadmin at tyrantslayerstudios.com. And for our second prize giveaway today, we're going to be giving away a 4K HDR Roku. On that Roku, I will personally set it up for you upon exchanging information with you. I will go ahead and pay for your first month of Activism News Network. You will have a free 30-day period to enjoy a plethora of content. I think we've got at least 400 videos on there, or damn near to it. So there is a whole world of education to be had upon this device and upon Activism News Network. And without further ado, I'll just go ahead and start fingering through. Let's see. You know, I feel kind of bad. Let me get a bigger list here. And, you know, I'm going to tell you guys right now, the regular folks who've got their name here more visible than some of the newcomers, you know, their level of participation is going to increase their chances of winning. Like, as I go through this list, I see so many familiar names, and I'm trying to find a stranger. So I'm trying for you guys here. Let's see. I mean, I'm trying to be random as possible. NC Tyrant Hunter, bang. NC Tyrant Hunter. It seems like a conflict of interest to give something away to somebody I'm working so closely with, but that is the luck of the draw, ladies and gentlemen. NC Tyrant Hunter is going to win a 4K HDR Roku device. NC Tyrant Hunter, go ahead and email me at studioadmin at tyrantslayerstudios.com or just call me, man. Just give me a call. We'll swap information. I'll mail this thing out to you, and you can start enjoying watching Activism News Network at your leisure in a very simplistic, comforting manner, right from your couch. You know, click that button, throw on the Roku, and enjoy the content, man. Unless, of course, you're going to object. I mean, I feel a little strange here. That was just the luck of the draw. So if NC Tyrant Hunter objects, are you still here in the live chat, sir? We've lost most of our crowd. We've only got 9 viewers. If you're in this live chat right now, hit 1. And I'll see what we got for names here. And you'll get your shot at the 4K HDR Roku device with a 30-day subscription to Activism News Network, and which, by the way, if you have not done so already, I highly encourage you folks to get on over to www.activismnewsnetwork.com. It is the quickest and most swift way to subscribe to the channel. For auditors out there with under 1,000 subscribers, I believe Rogue Nation has confirmed that we are giving away a 30-day period of the channel for free for you folks. So if you're an auditor and you're here on the live chat and you have less than 1,000 subscribers, put a 2 in the chat so I can identify you, and I'll be able to help facilitate that for you. Let's see. Oh, we got some ones. You know what? I'm just gonna NC Tyrant Hunter. You will forgive me, sir. We're close enough. You know, I feel a little strange giving it to you. I think others will be able to do more with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to go with Yeti Dogs. Yeti Dogs. All right, brother. Yeti Dogs wins the 4K HDR Roku device and a 1-month subscription to Activism News Network. Compliments of Tyrant Slayer Studios just for being here, just for participating, just for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new here. Hats off to Miss Tyrant Slayer. I think she did a wonderful job. Let's give her a round of applause. Crowd goes wild. Yeti Dogs is the winner. Who was the winner of the... Yeah, Mark Levesque is the winner of the Undercover Epicenter Nurse. Please, you two, do not forget. Please reach out within 72 hours, because if I don't hear from you, I'm going to have to give these things away to somebody else. So, NC Tyrant Hunter, Mark James Levesque, and Yeti Dogs. Please email me at studioadmin@tyrantslayerstudios.com. We'll swap information. I'll get your mailing address. We'll get this stuff packed up for you. And with a bit of luck, you'll have it before Christmas. Please share it with your friends. This book is a very powerful book, very enlightening, very powerful, and it's autographed by yours truly, this very attractive, very intelligent, very outgoing, and very active nurse and U.S. veteran. So I guess that's it. I could scroll through some of your comments. You can't keep up on the payments, but thanks. You know what? It's only $3.99 a month. Not a big deal, man. That's $4. You take out maybe 1 or 2 coffees from Dunkin' Donuts every month, and you got your subscription. And even if you can't keep up on it, that's quite all right. The purpose of giving it to you is to reward you for your support and for your viewership here. And we're kind of counting on that. So there's going to be plenty more giveaways going forward. The prizes are going to get better and better. And we're looking forward to working more and more with the American people to create the force for progress that each and every one of us needs. Tomorrow, I am going to be premiering the interview I had with Brad Leo Lyon, the film producer who is trying to put together some funds, raise some funds. He's not asking for money. He would like some, but he's not a beggar. He's trying to create a good quality production. He wants to create a high quality film so that the message is accepted by the American people who otherwise may be put off by a sort of low budget kind of production. So he's working diligently to do the best he can and illustrate the best way he can why having a third option, which isn't a single party, by the way. I have to emphasize a third party isn't just one other choice. It's a conglomerate of a multitude of parties, really. And what's most inspiring about the concept is we are what is that next party. It would be you and I and your brother and your sister and your mother and your father that create the new political body for Americans to latch onto and really create change with, real change that you can believe in, not change that's going to screw everything up like we've seen in the past. So, Yeti Dogs, congratulations. Mark James Levesque, congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned for tomorrow's premiere. We will be live. I'm going to go ahead and try to get Mr. Lyon in here so he can answer your questions during the live chat. I'm not aware of what his schedule is or if it permits him to be in attendance, but I will see if I can't get him to be involved. If you do have questions throughout the interview I have with him, please put them in the live chat. I will get them over to him, and I will be hooking you guys up with all the links and his contact information in case you want to contact him personally and ask those questions yourself. Of course, that would be just fine as well. So with that, thank you very much. I'm going to close out with Activism News Network's wonderful advertisement here. If you haven't yet, I, again, encourage you to get on over to www.activismnewsnetwork.com. Show us some love. Get subscribed to the channel. It's a mere $3.99 a month. And the education that it yields is beyond that value by a light year, to say the least. So, before I leave, just a quick update. Rights Crispy is out of jail. NNC is out of jail. And Ninja is out of jail. All these guys were arrested today out in Alabama, all in the same place, all illegally detained. They've all got wonderful cases that they are, in fact, going to beat. We are going to be following that stuff closely, so stay tuned for that. We'll have some sort of coverage on that in the next couple, 3, maybe 4 days. And I guess that's it. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please share the links to this if you haven't already. Hit that like button for me, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button too. Don't forget to hit the alert bell so that you know when we're uploading new content or going live. You'll get the notification right there on your cell phone or in your email or what have you, and you can keep up to date with the latest and greatest here from Tyrant Slayer Studios. Good night.
Read the law. It's right there in your hand.
The Activism News Network is now online.
Yeah, easily over 100.
What's your name and your badge number?
Subject 97, he's fishing. He also has an AR-15 and a Glock.